Mail-in balloting has been with us forever. And that peaceful transfer of power is what the people of this country rely on when they go to vote. It is appalling and outrageous that anyone would suggest for a minute that if they lose an election, they're not going to leave. Period. How many times at the end of an election have we heard of the words, "the people have spoken"? And I said at the time when I got asked about it, people think there's a lot at stake in this election. And there is. Whichever state you're from, region you're from, or where you're voting up and down the ticket. And those of us who serve in public life will do everything we can to make sure that the people's will is followed through and executed on. Because that is fundamentally why there's a United States of America in the first place.
This is the Republican governor of Massachusetts, Charlie Baker, making it abundantly clear how he feels about Trump's refusal to commit to a peaceful transfer of power in the event that he loses. Trump was asked the simple question about something that forms the cornerstone of our democracy during a press conference earlier this week.
Win, lose, or draw in this election, will you commit here today for a peaceful transferal of power after the election? There has been rioting in Louisville, there's been rioting in many cities across this country, red and your so-called red and blue states. Will you commit to making sure that there is a peaceful transferal of power after the election?
Well, we're going to have to see what happens. You know that I've been complaining very strongly about the ballots, and the ballots are a disaster.
I understand that, but people are rioting. Do you commit to making sure that there's a peaceful transferal of power?
We want to get rid of the ballots, and we'll have a very peaceful. There won't be a transfer, frankly. There'll be a continuation. The ballots are out of control. You know it. And you know who knows it better than anybody else? The Democrats know it better than anybody else.
Trump literally said the phrase, "Get rid of the ballots and you'll have a very peaceful," there won't be a transfer, frankly, there will be a continuation, meaning that he doesn't want ballots to be counted, presumably mail-in ballots, and that in the event they aren't counted, that he'll win. He is saying outright that he does not think certain ballots should count in this election, and he's specifically targeting the ones that he thinks will benefit Joe Biden. And yet, while even spouting perhaps the most despotic thing ever said by a US president, the Republican Party has basically just shrugged it off. And that's underscored by the fact that this is a party that pretends to pride itself on their reverence for the Constitution. For years, the GOP hid behind this document, exploiting it to spout platitudes and cliches and show everyone just how much they love America. But when it came time to actually defend that document, suddenly their reverence for the Constitution is nowhere to be found. Suddenly it's crickets from the Party of Patriots. Funny how that works out, huh? And keep in mind too, this is a party that called Obama a dictator for giving people health care. Seriously, when Obama was passing the ACA, House Republicans urged protesters outside the Capitol carrying signs reading, "Doctors, not dictators," because they felt that ensuring 20 million more Americans had health coverage was the move of a dictator, but a Republican president literally refusing to commit to a peaceful transfer of power is apparently fine for the vast majority of the party. For Republicans, it's almost like it doesn't actually have anything to do with protecting the country from dictators. The fact is that every Republican, not just Charlie Baker, should be condemning this dangerous precedent being set by Trump. And yet the fact that they're not goes to show the extent to which this party is just scared. They're scared of a mean Trump tweet and they're scared of losing his rabid base. And so instead of having a spine, they'd rather just cower at the feet of someone who, frankly, does not care about them any further than he could throw them. The GOP isn't ruled by any devotion to this country or adherence to the rule of law, it's ruled by fear. They should take a long, hard look at the speech that Charlie Baker just gave and recognize what's at stake in this election. Because when the history books are written, it won't just be Trump whose corruption is laid bare. It'll be every Republican lawmaker and senator and elected official who watched what he did to this country, to the rule of law and the institutions of our government and the Constitution itself, and yet opted to stay silent, and they will be just as complicit as this president. While you're here, please subscribe to my podcast, No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen, where I take a deeper dive into the week's biggest stories and interview major players in the world of politics, like Kamala Harris, Adam Schiff, Katie Porter, Nancy Pelosi, Cory Booker, Eric Swalwell, and many more. Again, that's No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen, available anywhere you listen to podcasts.